Class is in session.
Okay.
Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock on Tuesday, March the 17th. I think it's the 17th, and if it
Yes.
is, happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you who have.
I got Drew Patnode and Jim Mondan is coming in.
Okay,
They're both admitted.
Jim Top.
okay. In addition to Drew, I don't know Jim Mondani.
Hi, I just tied in because I'd like to say a few things in the public meeting session of this.
You'll be more than welcome.
Okay.
So I started the introduction. I'm Lee Saperstein, Chair of the Committee on Roads and Right-of-Way. It's Tuesday, March the 17th, which is, for those who care, St. Patrick's Day. And the start time is 4 p.m. Now, having said that, because we are being video and audio recorded, I think it's important that we know who's here. And I'll take the call the roll for committee members. Rick Atherton.
I'm here. As I said to you, I have to leave at 4:30, but I wanted to be on, so.
Okay. I'm just making a note, 4:30. Gordon Afterloni.
Here.
Aye. Ed Gillum.
Here.
Snooky Eldridge.
Here.
Nat Lowell. No Nat. Rob Rennie. No Rob. Alan Reinhardt.
Here.
Chair Lee Saperstein. And Phil Smith.
Here.
Thank you all. That makes us a quorum. Let's double check who else is online. Mike Burns,
I'm here.
Drew Patnode.
Here.
Thank you, Drew. Bob Bistrovsky.
Here.
I don't think Tracy McDonald's here, but I'll call her name.
Oh, we got some.
Okay. We have a guest.
I've just so you know, Lee, I'm admitting Joe Topham and Rick. They're asking me to admit you again, Rick, if you were here, but
Okay,
I was just trying my sound.
okay. All right, well, you're back.
okay, Joe Topham.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. I'll explain in a minute. I'm well, Joe. Now, that's the roll call. Is there anybody online whom I have not mentioned? Thank you all for attending. The next item is comments on items not on the agenda. And Joe, you said you had something?
Jim
Jim and Donnie and Joe.
Mondani. Oh,
Jim Mondani, sorry, Jim. And I've actually made a note, and I wrote Jim, I should have looked. Jim, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. You probably don't get much public comment in this committee, but I live on 9 Appleton, and I feel that it's important to address this committee relating to its decision on the Sconset Bluff last December. That the select board recently made a decision based on your recommendation. I appreciate all this committee does in ensuring public access, and even going so far as putting the monuments up. I think that's great, but I think you did the public a disservice by allowing a private group of citizens to control the Sconset Bluff. I think it's very clear that's a public right of way. I don't think there's any question about it. And it's no different than my public way on Appleton Road. And yet we seem to treat it differently by giving private citizens the right to do what they want to do. And I think that was the wrong decision. I don't think the board really focused on the right things when looking at this and ensuring, which is in their mission, to preserve to ensure that the public has access to all the rights of way. And I know these things were in the context of maybe improving things, but that's just from the perspective of one group of citizens. I think it has a detrimental effect in a lot of ways by preventing people from walking down there. There should be no restrictions on a public way. I don't think you would allow me to allow me to put forth those same restrictions on Appleton Road and the Appleton Road walkway. And I don't really have the same concerns, but the same things could occur. Making love on my front yard, which, I would be fine with. And drinking my coffee in the front yard. I mean, none of those are reasons for this board to take that action. And I really think it's put the town in a bad position on this, because I think it's very clear that the public has unfettered rights to use that roadway. And just because someone lives on that way doesn't mean they can control it. And they have as much rights as I do in that. And while I love how you put monuments there, I think it should be left that way without any restrictions. I do a lot of walking, just like you all do, beach access, and plenty of people put up gates. They don't keep out. They put a gate there, and that serves as a impediment. Placing hours in front places an impediment to some people. They want to have this, and I love how they call it a docent. I have to look it up. I mean, it's really kind of a security guard, and I think the select board has an issue with delegating police authority to that group of people.
Jim, if I may respond,
Sure.
I attended the select board meeting when they received the report from the Sconset Bluff people. That's the Civic Association and the Sconset Trust. The select board was very careful to say that all of the suggestions were suggestions and not legal impediments or restrictions. So,
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
You may want to go and look at the select board packet for that date, or watch the video of the select board, because the decisions they made were not binding decisions. They accepted the recommendations from the Sconset Bluff people that the signage and some of the other considerations suggest a time of use. It's not a mandate. And equally, the person whom they want to hire as a guide, the select board was very careful to say, this person has no enforcement capability. He or she will be a guide.
I appreciate that. And let me just say, I appreciate that, that we can have this dialogue, but I won't keep you all. I just want to make sure going forward, we keep this in mind. We have what I call entitlement creep on this island, and people are going to take this now and use it to put up signs for beach access below the low tide mark alongside their properties. They're not going to prevent it. They're just going to have some standards. And I worry that this will turn into that. I just think the Sconset Bluff is a treasure, and it should be open to everyone. It should be open for sunsets. It should be open for sunrises. And I have to have my coffee in front of the public just like they do. So come on. I mean, it just wasn't the right thing. And I don't think you followed the document back in 2010, which the group did a great job of putting together the whole background on it. So I will leave it at that. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for allowing me to express my opinion on this.
Thank you for your care and concern. If there are any other comments, and that could include from commissioners. I'm looking around, I don't see anybody raising their hand, so we're gonna move to item 2,
What about Joe?
December minutes.
He's just gonna talk.
I will say that we circulated something on which I put the word minutes. They're not exactly what we did in the past. They're a result of the town's involvement with something called Otter. And that's an AI system that will both transcribe in one document and summarize in a second document what happens in a committee meeting. And I will point out that this meeting today is being reviewed by Otter, and we will get something in a day or two. So I'm hoping that you're accepting the December minutes, but I'll need a motion and
Motion to accept. Second.
okay. So Snooky and Alan, it will require a vote. I'll just go around the table. Snooky, aye. Ed Gillum,
Aye.
Alan Reinhardt,
Aye.
Bill Smith.
Cody Angeloni, aye.
And the chair, Lee Saperstein, votes aye. That makes it unanimous. Okay, now to the business of the committee. I think we're all aware that roads and right of way has been extraordinarily useful. Our guest today mentioned the 2010 report, which is a report of substance still available on the committee's website. And I'm told that it will be enhanced by some of the appendices that's got a great deal more information. So, having said that, there's also a perception that we have outrun our usefulness and that there are demands for public participation that extend from the mission of roads and right of way, but expand it. And that will be called Transportation and Public Access Committee. So let's talk, if I may, about the transition, because I thought I knew what was happening. And then it changed just a little bit. The decision after the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission submitted to the select board their proposal for a mission statement and membership. Things changed a little bit. The new committee will have 6 at-large members, 3 members to be chosen by other bodies, and 4 ex officio members. Mike, you were involved in that. If I make a mistake, let me know. So let's go backwards. The ex officio members are the people whom we should be advising. That will include Mike Burns for transportation, Drew Patnode, who's also online for public works. It will include our real estate folks. I did say 4. I thought
Gary Roberts, NERDA, you had had.
NERDA, also transportation, Nantucket Regional Transportation, Gary Roberts. Those 4 people will be ex officio. I think there's a decision that that's without vote.
Yes,
Ex
correct.
officio just means by virtue of the office, and then it's up to the mission statement to determine how they vote. So they will be receiving information. Now, chosen by others, Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission gets to nominate 2 members of the new committee. So that would be numbers 7 and 8. And hello to Joe Topham, who's joining us to see what we've been talking about. Because frankly, we're gonna make as much of the transition as we can as we proceed March, April, May, and June, the final four meetings of Roads and Right of Way. So Joe Topham and Nat Lowell will be the MP and EDC representatives. And since Nat is an existing member of Roads and Right of Way, that reduces our number just a little bit. The third comes from the Disability Commission, and they have nominated Mickey Rowland, a longtime spokesperson for disability provisions here on the island. And this is Nantucket. If there aren't 6 degrees of connection, you're missing something. Mickey was the architect who helped design the rebuilding of my house on New Street. So he was also a member of the Nantucket, of the town area plan, which is the local plan as part of MP and EDC creation of a new version of the master plan for Nantucket. So we've worked a lot with Mickey, and I'm looking forward to him joining. That means 6 at large. And by my count, there's 8 of us, one of whom is not here today and has not been here for a while. I'm presuming that means 7. The procedure is that the new committee will be constituted as part of the regular town repopulation of committees. In other words, there will be a notice in the paper that there are vacancies. People interested will need to apply. And I'm hoping that I can get applications from everybody who's here. The town manager will be doing the selection. So the one piece of our proposed mission statement is that we report to the town manager, and the town manager will be making the appointments. I have heard that there are members of the former Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee who would also like to be one of the 6 or 2 of the 6 at-large members. So all I can say is apply. I will do my best to lobby. But it will be up to Libby Gibson to select the 6. Questions? Mike, did I capture it?
I think you did a very good job, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Bill.
What? Is there any significance in the fact that we're now appointed by the town manager rather than the select board? I mean, is there some?
There's significance in that it will affect how we operate. I don't think there's any secret message in there. I think given the number of department heads to whom we report, that the town manager wanted to be perhaps a little more directly informed of what we're doing. Good question.
So if we have something we think is a recommendation or whatever, we would be going to Libby rather than the select board, is that right?
Correct. And she is certainly a passage into the select board between her and her executive assistant, Erica Mooney. And sometimes it's easier to get something on the select board agenda through them than writing to the chair of the select board. Okay. Mike, I have transportation issues, and there are 5 of them on the agenda. You could probably take up the next hour and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try not to take the full hour, but I would like to give a presentation on the first bulleted item, the Pleasant Street sidewalk options. And at the end of the slide deck, I'll ask your help in participating in a survey and then letting your friends, family, whoever help spread the word of participating in the survey because we're closing it at the end of this month. And we will ask for time at the April meeting to kind of review responses that we received. So I'll just dive right on.
Mike, I don't mean to slow you down, but part of our process is a preliminary opinion gathering from members of the public. So I think I've heard you say you want to make your presentation. If people have questions at the close, we'll throw them at you.
Feel free. That's why we're here. So Mr. Chair, I just want to thank you for bringing everybody back together to kind of participate in this and other issues. The slide deck that I'm going to share with you was prepared by the town's engineering consultant, Apex, and staff worked with them to kind of put this together to summarize the options for improving pedestrian accommodations along Pleasant Street. And just so you know, this is the project areas between Silver Street and Main Street. So we'll go over a little bit of the background, talk about the 3 different areas of the project area, and then go into some next steps. As far as the background, again, here's a map of the project area between Silver Street and Main Street. Just so you all know, $2 million in funding for these improvements was approved at the 2022 annual town meeting. The project goals that are here include improving pedestrian accessibility to minimum or best practice standards, maintaining historic integrity of the corridor, and improving traffic flow that is constricted by the narrow travel lanes and conflicts with the parking lanes. Again, there's 3 focus areas that are highlighted here, and I'll go through each one by one. The first focus area is between Silver Street and South Mill Street. This area has a few issues that the design options were developed to address. There's mature shade trees, a narrow bottleneck with on-street parking, and 2 substandard sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. The second area is between Candle House Lane and High Street, also in a constricted area with narrow travel lanes due to a parking lane that effectively forced 2-way traffic flow into 1 travel lane. And there, again, are mature shade trees and substandard sidewalks on both sides of the road. The third area is from High Street to Main Street with similar issues with tree conflicts in the sidewalk. And that does effectively narrow the road width to a very difficult situation to accommodate 2-way traffic flow. But there aren't any issues in this area with on-street parking. So going into a deeper dive on the first focus area, there was 5 alternatives for this design area. I'll go through each one. Again, this area has conflicts with street trees and the sidewalk, and there's conflicts with the parking lane between Jefferson Street and Lion Street. Alternative 1 is simply to do nothing other than rebuild the sidewalk to address surface issues, upheaval of bricks and whatnot, and to provide ramps. But that does not address accessibility by providing a standard width for users. Alternative 2 would remove trees along the west side of the road to accommodate the sidewalk width while preserving preventing impacts to abutting properties. This option also preserves parking, which does not address the traffic bottleneck. The third alternative would remove the parking lane on the east side of the road, align the sidewalk into the roadway to avoid the tree removal and to improve traffic flow while preventing any property impacts. The fourth alternative would have an impact to abutting properties by aligning the sidewalk behind the tree and into the front yard of the abutters. This option also does not impact parking and subsequently does not improve the occasional bottleneck in the roadway. Alternative 5 would remove the sidewalk from the west side of the roadway, preserve the street trees on that side of the road, but it would require utility pole moves to provide an accessible sidewalk on the east side of the roadway. This would also impact the parking lanes so that it would improve the traffic flow. And this chart summarizes the trade-offs and the benefits for each of the alternatives. Each has two trade-offs, and I'll note how each are trying to inform the decision inform the decision of which alternative should be used at the end of this presentation. Going on to the focus area number 2. Again, on-street parking is the primary issue. It inhibits traffic flow and creates delays and conflicts. Alternative 1 for this area wouldn't change anything other than do surface repairs and add ramps to the sidewalk. It does not address the accessibility issues. Alternative 2 would remove the parking from the west side of the road to improve traffic flow. The street trees on the west side of the road would be preserved, and the areas where on-street parking occurs over the curb line and onto the sidewalk can be repurposed for sidewalk users to meet accessibility standards. And again, here's a summary table showing the trade-off, which is just the one for each of the 2 different design options. Again, doing nothing does not improve the traffic bottleneck, and removing parking does add pressure to demands for parking spaces in the area. The last area, alternative 3, just has 2 design options that we are considering. The primary issue in this area is a 60-foot diameter tree that straddles the curb line and narrows the sidewalk and effectively narrows the travel lanes. Alternative 1 would again do nothing. Traffic flow would not be improved, but the tree would be preserved. Alternative 2 would remove the tree for traffic flow and for pedestrian accessibility improvements. And again, here's the summary table showing the trade-offs and the benefits of each of the options. Alternative 1 does have the 2 negative impacts for accessible sidewalks and for traffic flow. Alternative 2 does improve accessibility and traffic flow, but again, it does impact the 1 tree there. And Mr. Chair, I wanted to go over some of the public outreach that we're doing right now. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeking help from the public and from you all to help inform the decision for the preferred design option. We're reaching out with the neighborhoods in the area. We sent a mailing to the abutters asking them to participate in the survey. We're asking for island-wide participation for the survey. The survey is active on the project's website to solicit input from respondents about their concerns, about what they like and what they like about the corridor, how they use the corridor for parking, walking, commuting, etc., how they would prioritize project goals, and what respondents would want to preserve in the corridor. The survey will close at the end of March. Responses will be shared with you all, Roads and Right of Way. We're also liaising with the Nantucket Historical Commission, since we like to preserve historic integrity as part of this project. That's one of the project goals. We'll share responses with the committees and to ultimately provide a recommendation to the select board of the preferred design option like in May. So as far as next step, I'm sorry.
How does the public get to the survey? Since we're being video recorded, if you'd let us know right here.
That's the last slide.
Okay, last slide. Go. Sorry.
So next steps include outreach that we're doing for the public, committee coordination, and once a preferred design option is selected, engineering will progress through the fall with construction period to be determined when the engineering is finalized. And as requested, Mr. Chair, here's the web link to the project site. You can also scan the QR code to access the survey. Again, Mr. Chair, I'd like to revisit this topic at your April meeting to review public input and to ultimately seek a recommendation on the design. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
We'd be happy to have you, of course, Mike, because we're moving toward the point where you are ex officio member of this group. I'm going to look at my colleagues. I've already got a couple of questions set up, but colleagues, Ed, have you got any?
I don't have questions. I have my answers to each one of those focus areas by reviewing the plan that I reviewed earlier.
Okay.
Those are my personal answers. But and I'm not sure if we're surveying that or not.
Ed Gillum, speak loudly to Al.
From reviewing the pre-reviewing, this meeting reviewing this transportation, outreach and survey. My personal opinion is focus area 1 was alternate 3. Focus area 2 was alternate 2. And focus area 3, which is problematic because of the 60-foot tree, I still go with alternate 1, because I think if it's a 60-foot tree that is in good shape, it's not sick or ill or needing to be pruned every year for safety reasons. I mean, it's a contributing factor, like an HTC item almost, in 60-foot tree, like that's been around longer than will ever be. So I'm not sure I want to remove a tree that's been around that long, even though it is problematic. There are a lot of trees, like on Orange Street has a number of these same old growth trees that are very problematic to sidewalks, but I guess that's part of the charm here.
Thank you. Bill Smith.
Mike, how many responses have you received so far?
I actually haven't gotten an export of responses in a couple of weeks. I will say 2 weeks ago, we had a little over, I think we had about 24 responses, but that was an export right as the mailings were going out to the neighborhoods. So I don't have a more up-to-date one, but it's more than a couple of dozen.
But that probably is the local people, not the whole island. I mean, I have not seen any sign of this at all. That would be soliciting input from people outside the neighborhood.
And we're working with our communication staff to do a better push through social media to get responses into this. I think there has been some push out, but not the rigorous social media push that it's really actually where we get a lot of value from, where we get a lot of our responses from is through social media. So we'll try to do more of a push before the end of the month over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think that this is something that when people hear about this and get engaged, you're going to get a lot more responses, and I don't think 2 weeks is enough time for that.
Very high level survey. But we want input on the prioritization of goals and then what the community wants to preserve. That's really, really high level. It's not which one of the design options do you want. That's not how the survey is constructed. So I think we'll have enough to get take the temperature of the community to see what they like and what they don't like, and then share it with you all to help inform which design option kind of relates to what we heard from the public. Again, this is kind of what the model we're trying to use in order to give the select board a recommendation from committees, and also we have some ammunition to say that we've reached out to the public to get input from the neighborhoods. We're asking people to let us know if they live in the area or if they live in a different part of the community or off island. So we'll have responses kind of broken down by that. And so they're going to let the select board know that this is what the public wants. Here's what your advisory committees have settled on and what staff would recommend based on those inputs. That's the model that we're using for this project.
Has another comment?
Through the chair, Mike. So will there be, like I responded obviously to the different focus areas by giving an alternate answer. Is there something on that survey that might link people to making a decision on each one of the focus areas based on the alternates?
No, we haven't built the survey to say, do you like option 1 or 2 for focus area 1? Do you like option, which option do you like for focus area? That's not how we constructed the survey. We want what are the values or principles that you like? What are the elements you want to preserve? We are asking if trees are your highest priority of what needs to be preserved, or the historic character, or is it accessibility? Is it the parking that should be preserved? We want to be able to rank that. and then share that with you all to see if that aligns with what you would recommend for those areas. We want you to make those recommendations on for the focus areas. We don't want to just send it out as a blanket. We want to establish principles through this survey.
Joe, I do have comments,
I,
but I'm gonna defer to committee members first. Ed's still going.
if I can just respond to that, I think that's great, and I understand the methodology now, but you might find that someone is thinks about trees, if there's a 10-foot tree versus a 60-foot old growth tree, there might be a very different answer to that. I mean, you see, there might be some subcategories of within this, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Ed, I do drive this route regularly. It's one of my ways from New Street into town. Most of the trees that I know of are old growth elm.
Right.
And as a consequence, they're part of Nantucket's arboreal history. So, Mike, responding to issues rather than focus areas. Inherently, I would prefer trees to parking, but I'm well aware, particularly on the west side of Pleasant Street, there are a lot of houses cheek by jowl, and their only parking is on the street. So that if we eliminate parking so as to maintain a 2-lane throughway and keep the trees, we're gonna have 6 or 8 people who are gonna be hunting for parking places on High Street or any of the other abutting streets.
They did the same on North Liberty Street though years ago. Up
Yeah.
in North Liberty, so.
Well, on this particular stretch. Now, parking, as I understand the rules of parking on Nantucket, those business people with commercial plates may ignore the no parking constraint for a limited period of time. It's actually, I think, 15 minutes, although many of them park all day long. But part of the challenge of parking is either large landscaping vehicles or double parked vehicles that are trying to get access to their workplace. That's a consideration, Mike. I don't have an answer for.
And you've got the fuel trucks too, and they're not small.
Snooky points out that propane and oil deliveries are also going to block the way. Mike, do we have accident history for this stretch of Pleasant Street? I know that the town keeps a survey of any accidents with material harm or damage, but I don't, it's probably accessible. Well, I haven't looked for it. Do we have it?
Sure we do.
Can we use that to help guide choice on focus areas?
We do have a high injury network that we established from our traffic safety action plan that we developed last year. And that looked at 5 years of crash data to see where the hot spots are and where the priority corridor should be. This particular stretch of Pleasant Street was not on that high injury network. So yeah, we can look at crash data, but I think the goal that or at least the principles we're trying to exercise, or the priorities is focus safety priorities to the high injury network. And this just isn't part of it, but this is an accessibility issue. So I think that's more paramount, is providing safe and accessible accommodations to pedestrians. It's not so much a crash corridor that we need to address for crash reasons.
Well, as I say, I drive it frequently. Most people are cautious, and there's all kinds of polite endeavors, stopping, flashing your lights, letting somebody get through. Until you get irked that 4 cars have gone the other way and nobody's given me access, but I have not seen I've not personally seen an accident, which is why I asked the mention.
It's a road rage.
Anybody else? We all need to look at this survey and add our comments to it. Mike, Phil.
I would just say, because I lived in that neighborhood for, many years, and I would say that the parking and the getting by with all of the people double parked is the biggest issue. I really don't see an awful lot of foot traffic between, along there. I just don't. I mean, Maybe there are studies or something, but you just don't see a lot of people walking.
There is a limited amount of foot traffic. Once again, this is a non-quantified observation from a driver. And I think that's because Pleasant Street abuts into Maine quite a ways up, and if I were walking, I'd go down Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are any number of bicycles. Bicycles, scooters, two-wheel vehicles of any sort, possibly even electrically powered scooters. And they become part of the issue in terms of safety and accessibility,
But they do not have access to the sidewalk.
unless they ignore the rules.
Maybe we need to ask someone who's having coffee on his front porch to count the people.
Okay, Mike, you've got four other items that you wanted to discuss.
Sure. Just quickly, I'll note the pilot program that was approved by the select board. I'm assuming I'm sharing the correct screen here, showing the diagram of the intersection of Surfside Road, My Comet Road, and Surfside Drive. Just to let you all know, and I think Drew's on the call, he can correct me if I get the dates mixed up. I want to say we're going to launch the piloting period for about a month, from April 6th through May 4th, which is effectively town meeting. And the idea is to end the pilot, or at least have a decision after town meeting of whether to continue or not to continue the piloting of this as a four-way stop. So just wanted to share this with you all, let you all know the pilot period, and that we will also have a public outreach page set up. Actually, it's already set up. You can go to the Zen City page now and find the page and participate. But the idea is, once the pilot's launched, we'll send the link to a survey to the public to let us know what their opinion of the intersection was before the piloting, and what they feel is whether it's an improvement or not during the pilot. So that'll help inform the decision makers of whether to continue the piloting or not.
Great, thank you. Amelia Drive?
And Amelia Drive, that's, as you know, we had asked for some capital funding in 2019 or was it 2020? To fund improvements along Amelia Drive. That involved an evaluation of design alternatives. A preferred option was selected that preserved on-street parking. It was actually moved over into some parking wells were going to be developed keep the two-lane traffic flow, have a parking lane in certain pockets of areas between cherry trees in order to preserve the cherry trees, and then provide sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. That capital request did not pass. So we actually don't have the funding to do that preferred alternative. Alternatively, we could do a one-way traffic flow for Amelia Drive. Just to let you all know, I plan on having outreach with the butters on Amelia Drive in the coming months to see if there's still significant support for the preferred alternative or not. You know, the preferred alternative being the capital improvement. The alternative to the preferred alternative was a one-way flow. I'd like to get input from the abutters on which one of those options they prefer, and we would like to pilot a one-way option for Amelia Drive. At least from the section of where Waite Drive intersects Amelia Drive through the end of the road on Tacoma Way, have that be one way to where we preserve the parking. We don't impact the trees, but we address the bottlenecks that are so frustrating to deal with. So that's something that'll be reaching out to the abutters in the coming months, and then we'll ask to pilot that project in the fall.
So, Mike, just a quick observation. It would be two-way, at least up to the parking lot for meat and fish and for the bank. And then one way somewhere beyond that.
In the Hive, perhaps?
And then this is a question. If it's one way, whichever direction it is, I think it's south, what's the return route? Would the return route be Fairgrounds?
The return or Waite Drive. I mean, you can use Waite Drive as kind of Waite Drive is two-way, but you can use that as a one-way pair to kind of do a like clockwise rotation around the neighborhood. And that would be a little bit easier than going to Fairgrounds down to Old South Road and all the way back around again. So that's, you know, a way to, I guess, make it more convenient and efficient.
Yeah.
Milestone?
There are ongoing projects, pre 25% design for the Milestone Rotary and for the intersection of Milestone Road at Nobody Farm Road. And future meetings, I will be hopefully getting comments from you all or TPAC about those design options. They're very preliminary right now. Like I said, they're pre 25% design. The construction implementation of those projects is a very much an out year, more than 2 years away. And we are having discussions about widening Milestone Road. That is an improved project. Right now, the sequencing of the widening of Milestone Road is to happen after the intersections are implemented, to where we essentially be the very next year would be the road widening to link the two intersections and to extend the widening to New South Road. But that's more of an out year. I don't know if we need to go into it right now, but Drew Patnode and I are liaising with Mass DOT to see if there's interim improvements to Milestone Road since it's in such poor condition after the storm events recently. But those would be ongoing projects that we'll seek input from this committee on.
The traffic demand forecasting model, I looked at it as Ed commented, we shared this slide deck with the committee members, and it's complex.
It's an extremely dynamic and powerful model that our consultant TrafInfo is working on. It's based off the Boston region. It's their office is called CTPS, Central Transportation Planning Services. They actually maintain the model. We're extracted the Nantucket portion of the statewide model out. Our consultant is populating that model with our demographics and with our traffic conditions to do more of a micro level calibration of that model. It's extremely complex, Mr. Chair, but the point of this item being on the agenda today was to let you know that there is a website. If you're interested in traffic modeling at all, or you want to learn more about this, you can go to our website that we've developed, and it does have a video presentation that was shared with the NPNEDC to kind of talk about the approach that they're using. There's also technical memorandums that are on the project timeline. We will be adding another technical memorandum to this. Right now it's showing that we should have 3 total. We'll end up having 4 technical memorandums that go in a great deal of detail about how dynamic this model is, what the assumptions were going into it, and what it can do for the community. Just to let you all know, it's not just a vehicle traffic model. It does incorporate transit and other modes. So that we will be coordinating with the select board and TPAC over the summer to go over different growth scenarios. We have a future year of 2050 that we're building this model to give us outputs on, like what the traffic conditions are going to be in 2020. And we're using the good work that was done last year for the build out analysis. We know what the build out of the island is based on zoning. We'll come up with some different scenarios based on growth and assumptions, see which one we like to pick to see, okay, this is the growth that's going to happen in 2050 and what we need to run the model to consider to let us know what the conditions are in 2050 under those different scenarios. That'll help inform a lot of different policies for the select board for their strategic plan, such as if we need to do a better job of expanding transit because the roads just can't handle the vehicle traffic anymore, we'll come up with a game plan for expanding transit. If there's parking that needs to be addressed because under a certain scenario, we know that there's going to be growth in the vehicle numbers and that needs to be accommodated in some activity centers like Mid-Island and downtown, coming up with other policies for dealing with that. So this will be a very helpful tool for planning and policy making in the future. And I'm happy to share with you the status of the model as this develops over this. We hope to have it complete in October, but at each stage of these thresholds, share with you where the model status is.
That would be helpful, Mike. I've had a hand raised from Phil Smith, and then I've got a comment or two.
Mike, this is Phil. About a year ago, I moved out to the Surfside Road area. And I am just, I'm just overwhelmed by the thought of either Surfside Crossing and or Island Home being built. And the intersection with Fairgrounds Road and Old South Road. I mean, it's a mess right now. I just can't imagine what that will be if those two projects go in.
And there were traffic studies, Mr. Chair, that were done, that looked at if the 40B development happening, and if Ireland Home was ever developed. There were traffic studies that were completed with recommendations for dealing with those traffic conditions. I mean, the intersection's gonna be very stressed. There's gonna be a little bit more building. And the preferred option for Fairgrounds and South Shore Road is a roundabout. So once that comes online, whenever the 40B development starts to get built out, that'll become a capital project that I'm assuming that we'll all have to debate whether we want to advance or not. There's another intersection that we identified as a one that's going to be stressed by both projects, and that's the Surfside Road at My Comment Road and Surfside Drive, where we're piloting a 4-way stop. That actually was a recommendation of those traffic studies that were done for those developments. The preferred option is a mini roundabout for that intersection, but we don't have the funding just yet. So the 4-way stop is like an interim measure to see if it's acceptable by the community. But hear you that those projects coming online will stress intersections. We've studied that. We have recommendations. Again, this is going to be a decision that town meetings can have to make, whether they want to fund those improvements or not, whether the condition is tolerable, or we have to devote good funds or public funds to address those problems.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mike. I did say I had a couple of comments, and Mike, you put your finger on one of my comments. That's the unintended consequences of decisions made about parking. If it's difficult to park, will that drive people to other forms of transportation? Or will they simply be circling, looking for that elusive parking place?
This is America.
And so the connection between parking and traffic demand, at least needs to be identified. And, I did have, yes. In your traffic demand model, there's a subsection on fatalities and serious injuries. And so I will share something from my experience in mine safety, underground coal mining and underground other activities, major surface mines. We've been trying to collect information on near misses because fatalities are identified. Major and serious injuries subdivided into lost time or no lost time. But with respect to traffic, it would be serious injuries requiring hospitalization or not requiring. Near misses are a critical part of an indicator of operator compliance with the rules, but it's elusive. When it comes to traffic, it may be almost impossible to collect. Still something to think about. Anybody else for Mike? So if you will permit me, I'm going to back up. I apologize. Status of committee reorganization. I forgot. I've been doing it myself. We need a committee secretary. I got one. Thank you, Gordy.
The youngin. Thank you, Gordy.
Thank you.
Okay. Because I've been keeping notes, and Bob's got Otter lined up, and we've also got the video. Okay, Drew, you're on. That's Drew Patno, Director of the Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you guys all hear me loud and clear?
Actually, I skipped.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the only thing listed on the agenda for a quick update was kind of where we're at seasonally and a report on the storm cleanup efforts. basically from cumulative of all the storms, but of course the grand last hurrah that we had the end of February. So yeah, I guess just an update on that. We've made it pretty clear to our operations team that manages our public right of ways that basically we have our top three priorities. 1A is pothole patrol. 1B is tree removal. There's still some down trees out there that we need to clear from the public right of ways. And then there's a lot of branches and limbs and sand on bike paths, on our sidewalks, and on our roadways. So we'll be doing, pothole patching, and ideally some more permanent repairs in the near future. I spoke with Victor Pekauskas today. He does anticipate that the asphalt plant will be up and running on Friday, so that'll be a big help. As I think a lot of the work group or this committee members know, we use cold patch. It's not a great permanent solution for potholes, and but in the heart of the winter, that it's better than nothing. We do make asphalt here in our reclaimer, but it's certainly not the same as hot mix that we get from a proper asphalt plant. So that'll be a big help for us going forward. And obviously, it's time consuming. We're going to stay on that leading up to and through summer, obviously, as other things come up. But you'll see the street sweeper out on the roads much more consistently going forward. We have some smaller street sweepers that we can use for the bike paths, and those will be working in tandem going forward. But it's always amazing how quickly Mother Nature can sweep through here and make a big mess, and it takes us weeks and quite a while to clean up after it. But we're doing pretty well. As I mentioned, we're in the beginning of changing of the seasons here, so our responsibilities are going to switch pretty soon to roadside mowing and the other regular maintenance tasks. But we have a number of projects internally that we've identified as priorities for this spring. So one of which is some targeted road shoulder restoration projects where the elevation on the shoulder of the road is keeping water in the roadway or at the edge of the roadway, which is degrading the roadway pavement in a number of areas. So from a drainage perspective, that'll be really helpful. So a lot of that is regrading and then loaming and seeding those areas. So we have a targeted list to hit this spring. So you'll see that out on our public ways. As I mentioned, the asphalt plant is opening. So I'm also meeting with Victor tomorrow morning to go over the annual roadworks paving list for this spring. So we have a pretty efficient approach this year as far as which roads are going to be milled and overlaid this spring. So we've targeted 2 stretches on Pulpus Road, one of which is near the Life Saving Museum that was previously skipped. I think adjacent, both east and west of that location were paved in about 2019, 2020. So we repaired a culvert at Folgers Marsh by the Life Saving Museum, so we can pave through that area. And then we're going to take new pavement from the Quidnet Road intersection to about 286 Pulpus Road. Additionally, we did get some cores basically from the Sankaty Golf Club out towards Saskatchewan, and those samples, those road cores, were sent to a lab in Minnesota where they've developed a cold in place recycling a mixed design for that area. So we would like to pilot that technology out here. There's a lot of benefits to that. Environmentally, it's a lot less emissions. It's more efficient. It's faster. It doesn't require new aggregate. It recycles everything in place, and then you put a thin top course over that. So I think that could be something really useful for us going forward. And ultimately, the dollars stretch a lot further, which is always a good thing, given the cost of milling and overlaying out here on Nantucket. So in addition to those 2 stretches or 3 stretches on Pulpus, there's a section of Cliff Road from Crooked Lane heading back into town that we want to pick up some paving that was done a few years ago and extend that towards the split. And then the last is York Street, full length from Union to Orange to Pleasant, and Pleasant to Prospect Street. It's obviously pretty heavily traveled roadway, basically from the old mill all the way back down to 56 Union. So those are our priority areas this spring for the annual roadworks. And then I want to give a quick update on a couple capital projects that are in the works. So I know Mike talked about some of the longer range and planning and design effort stuff, which was great. Some things are a little bit more shovel ready or already happening. So, first, obviously, we have the Surfside Road project or Surfside Area Transportation Project out by the airport. So all of the drainage on Lover's Lane, from Nancy Ann all the way to the boulevard has been complete. That was done. They completed all that work, and towards the end of January moved over to Monahans. Since then, they've actually already done all of the drainage on Monahans Road from Evergreen past Webster Road, and they're by the end of the month expecting to be done with all the drainage back to Orkawa. In April, Lover's Lane has been rough graded. The gravel subbase for the entire roadway has been installed from Nancy Ann back to Orkawa. So they'll continue the gravel installation in the paved section of Lovers from Orkawa South to the boulevard. And then we will get binder course down on Lover's Lane this spring. And again, when they're done with the drainage on Monahans, they'll do the same thing. They'll do the gravel subbase and binder course on Monahans for the summer season. So, and everything should be buttoned up and paved for the summer, at least with binder. And ideally, if time permits, towards the end of May and maybe into June, if it's not too disruptive, they want to make more progress on the bike paths. So there's a section of new bike path through the state forest on DCR property from Old South Road down to Rugged. That's already been cleared, and they've started the gravel installation there. And any pavement we can get down on bike paths, I think would also be really nice before this summer. Long term, the big picture schedule for the project, basically in the fall they'll be focusing on Orkawa, and that'll be all drainage, and then the same thing, the roadway and the bike path. And we expect a lot of final paving on Lovers and Monahans in the fall. And if anything spills over into the spring of 2027, and maybe some final paving and landscaping. But ultimately, we're actually ahead of schedule right now, and really confident that 2.4 miles of new bike paths and about the same 2.5 miles of roadway with really robust drainage infrastructure is going to be complete by summer of 2027, which is kind of our goal all along. So that project's going very well, and I know it's big and disruptive, and we appreciate everyone's patience dealing with the road closures and stuff. But for me personally, a big milestone was getting the drainage in at Gate 30B on where Lake Monahans typically forms when we get some substantial rain. So that'll be a nice thing of the past pretty soon. Additionally, we have our annual line striping contractor coming out June 13th. So they do crosswalks and stop bars, as well as long lines on roads that the center double yellows or the fog lines have faded. So that'll also be really nice to capture any other road work that we're doing or other contractors are doing in our public ways. And it's probably, I've always thought it's a really nice time somewhere between Memorial Day and 4th of July to get that work done and everything be really buttoned up and as safe as can be for summer. So the timing of that will be nice. And then lastly, we're very close to putting 2 big projects out to bid, one of which is Newtown Road, finalizing some private property voluntary easements with 2 abutters, and we'll put that up to bid and expect that to begin in the fall. And similarly, our consultant on the Tom Nevers bike path project and Blackwell & Associates are finalizing the easement plans for Tom Nevers. So once we secure those easements, we'll finalize our permits and put that project out to bid. And we also expect that to begin construction this fall. So a lot of things happening. Be nice to have a lot of these things also wrapped up by summer 2027 between the Surfside project, Tom Nevers bike path, and Newtown all being completed by that summer. And then sure enough, we'll be on to the next one, Pleasant Street, and some of these other areas that, we're working pretty diligently on the design for right now. So a lot of work going on, a lot of work coming up, but all exciting stuff. So that's what I have for an update. And obviously, if you guys have any questions, happy to stick around.
Drew, that's very comprehensive. Thank you. And I will turn to the committee members if they have questions. I will comment that from my time in Montana, when temperature could change by 80 degrees, that we have had storms, including deep dips in temperature that do nothing but pump out potholes. Because what happens is it gets warm, water infiltrates cracks in the pavement, and then it gets deeply cold and bang. So your attention to potholes, I'm sure, will be appreciated.
It's been, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's been a challenge. I mean, obviously, this isn't unusual, but it's the freeze thaw cycles and a lot of moisture and snow melt and rain. And it's New England in March. It is pothole season for sure. So,
Yeah. Did you have a challenge getting workers here when the ferries were canceled?
specifically for what?
Any day that the ferries were canceled would be a bad weather day, and you might have needed as many hands on deck as you could get.
For our staff, I mean, all of my DBW staff lives here on island, so we don't have any. I mean, we have.
Oh, okay,
We
that
have-
answers the question.
Yeah, our solid waste manager, Chris, is on island 3 days a week. His home is in Orleans, but he stays overnight a couple days. Other than that, our actual, boots on the ground field staff all lives on island, which is great. I guess to that point, the Surfside project, as I mentioned, is ahead of schedule, but they've had cancellations. They actually fly over every day. So whether it's wind, or snow or fog, they have had some days here and there, that they were either unable to get over or they come over and they're kind of limited as far as what they can do. We did have a pretty deep freeze for a while. It was, as everyone I'm sure knows, one of the colder winters in recent history. So that, threw a couple curveballs at the crew, but they've worked around it. Especially working around existing utilities, and when there's a decent frost at the surface, it can make it a little bit challenging. But they've done a really great job. The contractor and their team has been awesome to work with. So going very well out there, which is nice because it's a $20 million project. So a lot can go wrong, and they're opening up a lot of roadways, but it's going really well, which is great.
That's cool. Questions from committee members?
Can I
We
speak,
will-
Lee?
Joe Topham has his hand.
Joe,
Thank you. Drew, I just, Mr. Chair, through you to Drew. Back in 2011 or 12, I was trying to get a bike race to promote bike racing and the bike path. And so the bike race was out in Tom Nevis area. And one of the things was trying to get that bike path built. So I'm finally glad to see that all this time is finally going to be come to fruition, which I think is going to be fantastic. So I just want to say thank you and look forward to the final product.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. We're all very excited about it, obviously. And I'm not kidding when I say this. Mike Burns and I have talked about it's tough to do a ribbon cutting on a road or a bike path opening. It's kind of a big project. They're slow and then they just happen. We were kicking around the idea of doing like a Tom Nevers 5K or something, like from Milestone out to the park, or something
Yeah.
to commemorate the opening of the bike path. Because and I used to live on Flintlock. I understand how challenging it is to want to walk or bike on Tom Nevers Road, and there's so many year-round people that live out there. So I think it's gonna be a really meaningful improvement.
Yeah, and the half marathon used to go by there and they'd be running down the middle of the road. And, sadly what happened to Stephen Cohen, that was kind of a, really sad moment. But that was something I was trying to promote because, way back in the day, through, a bunch of buddies, we built a roll hockey rink out in Tom Nevers. And so I was out there every Sunday. And when, the VFW bar was open, we were up, Wednesday nights out there we called it the 5-hole for us. But, it's a great facility out there. And so I really think it goes, underutilized. And I know there's erosion and some other things, but I really think it's going to be a positive for this area. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Joe, you open up, just a quick question. Drew, is DPW working at the cleanup at the Old Navy base?
We are. Yep, that's a DBW project as well.
Okay.
That's some
Happy-
hard concrete. That's some hard concrete, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's government grade.
Yeah, happy to give a quick update on that project. So Wixon Construction is the contractor. They're done with the cleanup efforts. They made very quick work of the cleanup efforts below grade and on the beach that were within the original project scope. We basically bid it as a day rate. So the quicker they got it done, the cheaper it was going to be for us. But that actually allowed us to then expand the scope of work. So they cleaned up outside the original limit of work further east, which is really just south of the hockey rink, and got a lot of buried debris in that area. The other thing that they did, I don't know if folks know this, but we had them install a ramp down to the beach, which is not for public access, but will allow us in the future to go down with our equipment and pick up debris off of the beach as it continues to fall out of the bluff face. Chunks of asphalt from the park, at the higher elevation. But they also barged over a long reach excavator to take structures out of the kind of the low tide line. So there were a lot of the concrete structures that were still exposed. We're slowly kind of migrating further out into the water, even though they weren't moving. It's really the water was just coming in. But ultimately we were able to get a lot more done and make the funding that we had available go a lot further. And so, as I mentioned, they're basically done with the actual debris cleanup, and what's remaining is largely just the surface restoration. There's hundreds, I think like 800 and something plantings going in to revegetate the area and stabilize the soil, and make it look natural and native again. So very successful, and yeah, we're hoping to parlay that into a phase 2, which is essentially the entire area south of the bunker. So that will be at town meeting, and then Charlie Palaki, our Parks and Rec manager, has made some meaningful improvements for relatively short money as far as the irrigation, the well, the ball fields are in pretty good shape. He's done some fence work, the backstops, things like that. And we also have a capital request in for reconstruction of the roller hockey rink as a multi-sport court. So it'd be roller hockey, could be tennis, pickleball, cross-lined, and then replacing the basketball hoops that are there because, again, I think to Joe's point, it is an underutilized area. It's beautiful. Can't think of a better place to have to go outside and recreate. And so we're trying to get, more use out of that space. And especially with the bike path coming to the area, I think all that stuff comes together to really improve the neighborhood. So very, very exciting for us. We got a lot going on out there.
Thank you, Drew. I look at the committee members. I don't see anybody waving their hand. So my fault, but I think it's worked well. I skipped item 5 inadvertently, real estate issues, one of which has to do with encroachments. So as a segue from Drew's presentation to Bob's on, which I presume will be a brief one on real estate issues, the word encroachment shows up. And I know that everybody has their favorite or disfavored intersection where they can't see oncoming traffic because of a hedge or a tree or whatever. Drew, I want to compliment DPW on the click and fix because it seems that people are getting responses when they enter it. And so if committee members have got their favorite encroachment point, maybe the way to deal with that is to let DPW know through the click fix. Am I making sense, Drew?
Yeah, I was gonna say absolutely. I mean, we love it as a tool for us to not only just, as an intake tool from the public, but it really helps us organize our work and schedule stuff. Because obviously we're always juggling 1,000 different things. But another thing that we've talked about, and I don't know if click and fix is inadvertently kind of helping with this. A lot of encroachment issues I think are related to a lack of education, right? So I think it's important for us to continue to educate people and explain why it matters and, how it's impacting the public, whether it's their neighbors or people they've never met. We all drive these same roads and we all want to share the responsibility of safety. And sometimes that's the homeowner or the property owner's responsibility. So, working with Bob and the real estate team, and a number of folks in my office, I think, we've tackled a lot of that. And what we're really trying to do is get away from the repeat offenders that every spring we send them the same letter about the same hedges that are the same, right? So, and that's why I say the education component is going to be really important for us going forward. So, as I always say, I do invite people to use it. It's a great tool, I think, for the public, but it's a great tool for us as well. So it's been really helpful.
Drew, thank you. We look forward to continued participation from DPW. Bob, real estate. I know that you sent me a note saying Stone Alley has not yet been resolved and maybe it should come up in a future meeting, but perhaps you could explain the progress.
Let
of
me give
this.
you a brief overview, actually of both of the first two items, and then any members can ask any questions. Because both need further work. So on Stone Alley, you had appointed Ed Gillum to kind of work with us and the real estate team, and over the years, there's been work done. Bracken Engineering did a preliminary plan. The idea is not to do anything dramatic to Stone Alley, but to preserve it, keep it safe, keep it accessible, have a plan for maintenance. Drew was very instrumental in joining us at a meeting we had. We had at least one interested abutter there as well. Ginger was there. And we all got together and wanted to have a site visit to kind of see what we're talking about. At the moment, Stone Alley is great. It's open, it's accessible, relatively clean. And the idea is how can we best, kind of keep it that way. So what Tracy and I are going to be working on, and this is where we'll report to you at future meetings, and we'll keep Ed in the loop, is meeting with the engineers, getting an updated plan to make sure we have the meets and bounds of everything as it currently exists. And then getting together those abutters, there's only a handful that actually abut the alley, and talking to them about our goal to preserve it, make it accessible. Drew can speak to maintenance, if you like, Mr. Chair, but the idea would be to, have DPW able to do modest, not maintaining structures, but just keeping it usable. Structures meaning
vegetation
personal,
removal,
right,
fences.
right, but obviously personal property, things that are within somebody's property line, that's all, even retaining walls, that's all on them. But the idea would be, like with a street, if cobblestones come out, things like that. Drew, do you want to comment at all about your ideas on what DPW could conceivably do or want to do just to make sure Stone Alley stays accessible, which is this committee's, primary concern?
I don't know. I wouldn't add much. I mean, I think you covered it, Bob. The retaining walls and other private structures or property, I think would still remain under the ownership and responsibility of the abutters to that public way. But obviously, we've always maintained Stone Alley, although it may not have been really recorded as such, or as cleanly identified as our responsibility. We did do some cobblestone maintenance, resetting and removal and resetting of cobblestones in the fall, and I think it's in pretty good shape right now. And this would just help kind of again further delineate, kind of where the DPW's responsibilities and the homeowner's responsibilities stop, or start and end. So I think that'd be a useful thing going forward.
Gillum has a question.
It's not a question, it's just an observation. I obviously, as Bob said, was part of the viewing back on December 18th. And what I found most interesting, well, first of all, we discussed prescriptive rights and this, that, the other. But there's actually 5 separate areas of easement areas. And I found the easement areas very interesting, that each one has a separate set of, perhaps issues or things in the way or things that have been there historically. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, the workout on each of those easement areas, because in other words, it's just like the way that we often take paper roads where we give rights in the middle and things like this in different areas. And that's kind of the way this is a simplification, but it's a way to kind of keep an open path, but also give certain rights to the abutters along the
Sure.
way. And then each of these 5 sets have different, parameters and issues and concerns perhaps.
So we'll keep the committee posted. Oh,
And
sorry.
Sorry, Alan, go ahead, Alan Reinhardt.
The public way monument, I don't want to interrupt the flow here.
I've got that noted for item 8, old and new business. We will catch it. We might run over time just by a minute or two. Encroachment policy, are you and Tracy working on
Quick highlight,
potential amendments?
Yes, so, at an upcoming meeting, Tracy and I will present our ideas on potential amendments or improvements to the current encroachment policy, which this committee well knows. We did do a PowerPoint. It was presented to the select board. I would encourage all of you to watch it if you haven't seen it. I believe, Mr. Chair, that you did include it perhaps in a prior packet for this committee, but we could certainly do that again.
Okay,
Give you the actual PowerPoint slides so you could review those
sure.
when we have that discussion. And then what we will do is give our ideas, look for this committee's input. We'd also love input from the committee on other ideas I know there have been ideas in the past and recommendations made, some of which were adopted, others may not have been, but again, now would be a good time. I think the select board is very receptive to the presentation. As Drew says, I agree wholeheartedly. Education, information has been very effective for us when we've had complaints through Click and Fix. We would, if possible, we would literally go out and meet with some of these encroachers and again, they were great people, want to do the right thing, just maybe on a corner where they don't really realize that or they want protection from Matticat Road or another main road and don't entirely, but again, they're the ones suffering the most with the encroachment. If it's a corner, visibility wise, they're like, I can't get out of my yard. But so anyway, so when you have those discussions, generally people are receptive, generally they're responsive, and I found this pretty effective. So again, if this committee has ideas, we've presented to select board. I went to a Rotary Club meeting and did the PowerPoint presentation. If there's any other clubs or homeowners associations or other associations, we can talk about that, because I'd be pleased to go out and do the presentation.
Brief historical review. Rick Atherton, Alan, and I recall when we submitted a draft amendment to the encroachment policy. It was fairly comprehensive, and it included identification of historical encroachment that should be licensed at little or no fee to the homeowner, to recognize that friendship steps and some of these other appurtenances were acceptable. They were part of the history of Nantucket. Whether or not we go back to that, we'll look to your guidance.
And I know those things are on the radar of the HTC and some of those other organizations when a permit application is filed and there's sidewalk work being done, those types of things might come up. So again, but whether we do it that way by attrition or wholesale, try to identify all of them, that's another discussion.
And
I'm very personally interested in a lot of the licensing, the way you're going to set up some of the licensing. Because I think that is a workaround in certain areas where there's not a safety concern, there's maybe not a neighborhood concern or whatnot, but obviously it's an encroachment. So the licensing kind of.
Yeah, and that's what that would be in the policy. It is laid out, under the historical or a unique circumstance where there is a potential for licensing. It would include insurance to protect the town.
It may include a fee.
It might include a one-time fee, typically not annual, but it could include a fee. Yeah, so those are all things that they're in the current policy, but again, maybe some procedures around them, or how do we, make it consistent for people? I think that would be helpful.
But if they're like the one in Wisconsin, like Clifton Street and Sankaty Road, where they were told to cut the hedge and they haven't, they should be given 30 days. Then the DPW goes out and cuts it and builds them at 3 times what it costs the town to do it.
I'll give you Drew's email. But there have been a lot of we have made a lot of progress on things where people have not been entirely responsive, and Drew and his crew have done a lot of work under his authority, under the policy, where he has a
did
final
a
say.
great job
Yeah.
down at Coffin Street last year.
So that's something we could talk further about, but
Okay.
yes, and that's what people should be aware of. The DPW director has that.
Approaching time, we've got a couple
Drew
more.
has his hand up.
Oh, Drew has a
Drew
hand.
has his hand
Drew,
up.
I'm sorry, go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Snooki, I think you hit the nail on the head at the very end there. One of the issues that we've had, believe it or not, in some instances, we say, well, the policy actually gives them 15 days to rectify it, and then we can go do whatever's needed, whether it's cutting hedges or moving, rocks on the road shoulder, whatever. We're cheaper than a private contractor. So there are people that have said, yeah, fine, you do it. I don't care if you bill me, it's nothing. So I think what you said as far as bill them at 3 times what the actual cost is to the town, that might be something we're going to need to look into, because otherwise, yeah, people go, that sounds like a heck of a deal, right? And we just have too many responsibilities to go around doing essentially private landscaping for these people. So I like where your head's at. I would fully support an approach along those lines.
But we do highlight to those people that although the DPW employees are very meticulous, very careful, very good, they may not do it exactly the way your landscaper would. So there is some incentive for people to take care of their own properties.
So I'll
add when I've said things along that line before, I believe we've used the term, we cut for function, not fashion. So
correct.
If you want it done
that's good.
Right, the way you want to, I suggest you or your landscaper do it. Yes.
Yeah, and then that has been effective too.
Okay, we've got one more item under real estate, and I wrote it down because Ed had asked a question.
Okay.
And the question may be answered by the current
It's answered already, yeah.
warrant.
The recommendation was.
Curtis Barnes, I think, recommended that the town take Boynton Lane, and you asked about it, Ed. What we've discovered is that the accepted recommendation, Finance Committee accepted recommendation, is to take no action.
Right.
Which, if it's not called, knowing Curtis, it may well be called. Sorry, this is being recorded. Maybe that was not appropriate on a recorded session. In any event, we'll see what happens at town meeting. Now, Phil, anything new on Harbor Plan?
No, the state came back to us with some recommended changes, nothing substantive. And we should be seeing something pretty soon.
Okay,
That would be for the committee to sign off on and then send it to the select board.
okay. If there are issues that arise in the next 3 or 4 months, let me know. We'll put it prominently on the
I
agenda.
will. I will.
Now, old and new business. I have one, as does Alan. Some time ago, Alan, you said that Neil Patterson's group would be prepared to donate some upright granite monuments that were marked with public way.
Correct.
We need to identify locations and then ask DPW if they can help us to install.
Two things on that. The first 2 monuments, I think, that need to be replaced. These are the old concrete ones that are crumbling at Madicat. As you go out toward Jackson Point, there's a public way that goes down to the beach. And there are 2 of the old public way monuments, the concrete ones. They do need to be replaced because the rebar is showing and so on. Neil Patterson is offered to go out and replace those 2 posts. He's also offered to install up to 6 new posts if we can find public ways that are not marked, just public ways that we do want to mark. There's no, we don't want to mark every public way, there's no need to do that. But what we're looking for are the ways that people use where there's some question. For example, along Hubbard Avenue, we placed several, and also we placed a number of them out in Sconset along the footpath out there. So we're looking for that. I mentioned it to Bob a while ago, and Bob and Tracy are, it's on the list.
It's on the list. Although I'm not gonna tell you tonight now.
No,
At
no.
the next meeting, there will be a proposal.
Oh, really?
Okay, good.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. We do have a volunteer, Neil is willing to donate those posts and also to install them. He has a lift and a crane and so on, so.
So I need advice. I'm looking at Bob, and you may not necessarily want to answer right away,
It's 5 cents.
but essentially, this is a gift to the town. And the town might be asked to write a thank you. The challenge with the gift to the town is it normally has to be accepted by the select board.
You mean the installation?
The stone is worth hundreds of dollars.
Well, what have you done thus far? You've put up dozens of them. I'll take that as an answer. Okay,
But here.
yeah, I can look into that for you,
Okay, good.
Chairman.
Thank you.
And we did offer, what Neil did, we offered at a public select board meeting, a thank you to him
Yeah,
for the.
and I'm sure we can set up something that can also encompass all the gifts.
That doesn't involve a lot of
Absolutely,
stationery.
right.
Ed,
One quick question. What about the flush monuments? Do we have any, they went missing?
Right.
Do we have any replacements and
No.
ideas in mind for the flush?
No, we don't, they disappeared, they were stored behind the building down there, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, so.
Somebody's.
I would assume somebody from the town collected them, but who knows?
okay,
But we have no, my question was, we have no plans to replace those. Because they're less obtrusive, and there probably are areas where we need those, actually.
Well, the flush ones we put in, I put in, I don't know, a couple of those myself, they're just digging in the hole and put them in.
Right,
Place like that, so.
but we have no plans to get any.
No, although maybe if we develop a list of public ways, there might be some where a flush monument would be preferable to the
Right.
upright.
That's where I'm going with this, yeah.
thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
we're going to get an agenda item from.
Yes, you
Operate
will
on the
have
real
one
estate.
on a proposal for a public way monument.
Good. Okay, I just alert Drew that eventually, this will be turned into a work order if we need help in installation.
Happy to help. Just let me know.
Okay. We are now, is there any other old or new business? In which case, we're at the end of our agenda. My reading of Robert's Rules of Order is that when there's a written agenda and you get to the end, you're adjourned. But town procedure seems to require some kind of notion. So I'm gonna move that we adjourn, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Alan. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. For the record, it is 5:34 PM on the 17th.